From Tupac.
Near fatal shooting, but he couldn't survive a second. Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25.
To Yaki Kadafi.
Many W jurors with plenty murders occurs. No points of comments, we bring the drama.
Even Johnny J.
Put it together.
Okay.
Who producing that, Pop?
No, me and Jose Puente.
Ricardo.
It's really his project, but he let me ride with him on this minority exchange.
Almost every major face in the Hit 'Em Up music video is dead. Not retired, not washed up, dead.
West side, when we ride, come equipped with game. You claim to be a player.
What started as the most aggressive diss track in hip-hop history ended with a haunting body count.
I think the media was like, playing into this whole East Coast, West Coast thing, and it kind of really just feuded it. It just made it worse because, like I said, at some point they were friends,
Coincidence? Bad luck? Or was this track cursed from the jump? Let's break down how one video became a graveyard roll call.
West side, bad boy killers. You know who the real.
Yaki Kadafi, the witness who never got to testify. In hip-hop, few bonds were as deep or as devastating as the one between Tupac Shakur and Yaki Kadafi Fula.
A member of Tupac Shakur's entourage, a witness to the shooting that left the rapper mortally wounded, has himself been killed. The murder on Sunday is further complicating an investigation already hindered by uncooperative witnesses.
Childhood friends, god brothers, co-founders of the Outlaws. Both are gone within 2 months of each other. Their story wasn't just one of music. It was one of brotherhood forged in struggle and ended in tragedy.
He was a rapper who toured with Tupac Shakur. 19-year-old Yafeu Fula was shot in the head early Sunday morning on the 3rd floor of the housing project.
Kadafi featured prominently on multiple tracks, including Me Against the World and Outlaw. He also held down the 4th verse on the now infamous diss track, Hit 'Em Up. While his delivery wasn't as venomous as Pac's, the message was clear. His loyalty was absolute.
Could somebody help me? I'm out here all by myself, see ladies and stones, baby.
Tupac trusted him with everything, even asking him to recruit new members while in prison. Kadafi brought in his old friend Hussein Fatal, who quickly impressed Pac and joined the group. Their bond wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal.
Many friends now mourning his death believed Fula and Shakur were half-brothers. It is clear they were close. Both shown here with the West Side symbol that stands for gangster rap.
But on September 7th, 1996, everything changed. Tupac was gunned down in Las Vegas, shot 4 times from a white Cadillac while heading to Club 662. Kadafi was riding just 1 car behind. He told police he believed he could identify the shooter, but LAPD never followed up.
Near fatal shooting, but he couldn't survive a second. Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business. He was 25.
According to fellow Outlaws member Napoleon, Kadafi saw the shooter. The 2 locked eyes. Seconds later, the bullets flew, and Kadafi was never the same.
It's a dark-skinned arm, you know what I mean? And that's when he said it's like his stomach dropped because he already knew what it was. He said, once I seen the arm come out, I just knew that what time it was, and that's when he heard the gunshots.
He spiraled into depression. Napoleon recalls seeing him in New Jersey after Pac's death, hollow, disconnected, like someone who didn't want to live anymore. Desiree Smith, another close friend, echoed this. She remembered Kadafi saying he knew he wouldn't be alive much longer.
When Tupac passed away and we dealt with that blow, Kadafi, in my opinion, was never the same after that. Tupac and Kadafi's relationship was a special one.
And he was right. On November 10th, 1996, just 2 months after Tupac's murder, Yaki Kadafi was shot and killed in his girlfriend's hallway in Orange, New Jersey.
Where he was visiting his girlfriend. She found him slumped on the hallway floor, said he'd made a joke as he answered the door.
The shooter, Napoleon's cousin, 15-year-old Rashad Roddy Beal. Napoleon would later claim the shooting was accidental. He said his cousin, high on pills and playing with a gun, pointed it at Kadafi during a joke gone wrong. The trigger was pulled. Kadafi was gone.
He probably was 13, 14, 15 years old, always high, playing with a gun. He said that he was playing with the gun, pointed it in the face of Kadafi, and the gun accidentally went off.
Roddy turned himself in and reportedly served between 7 to 8 years, depending on which version you believe. But not everyone buys the accident story.
You saying it's an accident, then turn yourself in, you know what I mean? Eventually he turned himself in, and he did about 7, 8 years in prison.
Kadafi's girlfriend at the time, Lovey Johnson, said he was shot right after opening the door. No roughhousing, no play fighting, just a gunshot and a body found slumped in the hallway.
It
wait for somebody coming to kill him. And we all started laughing, like, just get the door. And then he came to the door.
And then you heard the gunshot.
Kadafi's mother, Yasmin, outright called it murder. In a fiery Facebook post following an interview Napoleon did years later, she wrote, "My son was murdered by Roddy Beal, Muta's cousin. Make no mistake, it was a murder." Some even speculated that Kadafi was silenced for what he knew about Tupac's killer. After all, he did tell police he could ID the shooter, but Napoleon insists Kadafi never formally cooperated with law enforcement out of loyalty and fear of being labeled a snitch.
Rap this and, you know what I'm saying, witness the Tupac's murder, it ain't got nothing to do with that. Or he just fell a victim to the streets. This Essex County, it ain't got nothing to do with nothing else.
It's just sad that he had to go at 19.
Still, the timing, the trauma, and the silence surrounding Kadafi's death have kept the conspiracy theories alive. Whether it was an accident or something far more sinister, one thing is clear. Two friends died months apart. Broken by the same brutal world they were trying to rise above. When Tupac Shakur introduced Hussein Fatal to the world, he didn't call him a rapper, he called him his lieutenant. And that's precisely what he was, a soldier, a streetwise protector, and one of the fiercest members of the Outlaws.
Not that I'm some kind of, gladiator or nothing like that, but if I was dead, I know, I'm in the streets basically. Only time I'm not in the streets is when I'm with Tupac, so I know right from wrong.
But behind the hard exterior was a loyal friend who would meet a tragic end, like Tupac and Yaki Kadafi. He was best friends with Yaki Kadafi, Tupac's godbrother. The two ran the streets together, selling drugs, getting into shootouts, and forming a bond that would eventually pull Fatal into Pac's orbit.
Kadafi, rest in peace. He is from my town. We is from the same town. That was my little man. We was hustling together, whatever. He kept telling me Pac was his brother. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Kadafi brought Fatal to visit Pac at Clinton Correctional Facility, and after hearing him rap, Tupac invited him to join the group he was forming, the Outlaws.
And his moms came through like, yo, Pac wants you to come see him. He wants y'all to come visit him. This one is in Clinton. So I went up there to visit the nigga, yo. And when we went inside, he came out. It was him.
Fatal appeared on several iconic tracks from All Eyes on Me, including When We Ride and All About You. He was also featured on Hit 'Em Up, Tupac's brutal diss track aimed at Biggie and Bad Boy Records.
It's like, yo, we gon' just, when I get out, we gonna go to California. But I was like, yeah, whatever. I've been promised mad shit from rappers before. But when we came home, we went to California.
He was there through fights, recording sessions, and wild moments. He once tried sneaking a gun into the House of Blues, and another time crashed Tupac's new Land Cruiser into a pole. That last stunt reportedly got him kicked out of the group, temporarily. Despite the clashes, Pac always brought Fatal back. Their bond was real. When Fatal introduced Young Noble to the crew, Pac wasn't impressed, until Fatal vouched for him. That's all it took. Noble was in. Tupac had plans. He didn't want the Outlaws signing to Death Row. Instead, he was building Machiavelli Records, where the Outlaws would be the first artists. But after Tupac's murder, not everyone stuck to that plan. On September 6, 1996, Fatal had to leave California for a court date. He missed the Las Vegas trip, the Tyson fight, and Tupac's final hours.
I never stopped thinking about what the was Tupac doing out there rolling in the dirt with that he ain't had no business even. He shouldn't even gave that the time, man, to even say something.
When Pac was shot the next day, Fatal was crushed. He blamed himself, saying that if he'd been there, maybe the outcome would have been different.
I felt like if I was dead, it would have been totally different, man.
2 months later, Fatal would lose Kadafi too, shot in the head by Napoleon's cousin. Just before the shooting, Fatal had dropped him off at his girlfriend's house. Two best friends gone in 2 months, Fatal spiraled. He fell into depression, turned to drugs, and walked away from rap entirely.
Him and Kadafi was tight as hell. Tight. Everybody was cool. It wasn't on no, like, yo, I'm gonna just go kill Kadafi type playing with guns all high.
By late 1997, life began pulling him back. Fatal became a father and signed a solo deal with Relativity Records. His debut album, In the Line of Fire, dropped in 1998, but label issues and the lingering East verses. West Tension hurt its success. He later joined Rap-A-Lot Records, working on a new project called Death Before Dishonor. Meanwhile, Death Row released Still I Rise, a Tupac and Outlaw's album, but cut all of Fatal's verses, reportedly to take a larger share of royalties. In the same month, Fatal was arrested on an old assault charge involving a razor. After his release, Rap-A-Lot re-released his second album under the new title, Fatal. He dropped mixtapes, collaborated with Ja Rule, and was nearly signed to Murder Inc., but the deal was never finalized. Eventually, Fatal launched his label, Thugtertainment. He reconnected with the Outlaws, releasing the 2011 album Perfect Timing alongside Edi Amin and Young Noble on the 15th anniversary of Tupac's death. But just as it seemed Fatal was turning the corner, tragedy struck again. On July 11th, 2015, Fatal and his girlfriend were involved in a high-speed crash on Interstate 85 outside Atlanta. Fatal was ejected from the vehicle and died at the scene. He was 42.
Well, we need to speak to his somebody from his immediate family, and I immediately started crying.
His girlfriend, charged with vehicular homicide, was also hit with DUI, reckless driving, and other violations.
You know what I mean? So, you know, when the car accident and all their phones was messed up, and you know, the little dog even died in the accident. She remembered my phone number and gave it to the car.
In the aftermath, controversy followed. Fatal's sister, Sarah Washington, claimed that some Outlaws members were withholding money owed to Fatal's estate. When she asked Young Noble about royalties, she said he told her, "He's dead now. He's not an outlaw no more." Whether that quote is accurate or not, the bitterness surrounding Fatal's death still lingers today. He was the street soldier Tupac counted on, the one who never backed down. But like too many from that era, he was gone far too soon. When you hear the venom dripping off every word and Hit 'Em Up, you hear more than Tupac's fury. You're hearing Johnny J's genius.
When did you first hook up with Tupac?
That was 6 years ago. That was in 91? Was it 92? My dates may be a little because I don't, you know, I'm not really good with dates.
Johnny J was the architect behind many of Tupac's most powerful records. He wasn't just another producer in the room. He was the sound, the pulse, the man who could match Pac's intensity beat for beat. And when it came time to craft Hit 'Em Up, arguably the most aggressive diss track in hip-hop history, Johnny was behind the boards, building a monster.
We put it together.
Okay. Who's producing that, Pac?
No, it's me and Jose Puente.
Ricardo.
It's really his project, but he let me ride with him on this minority exchange.
The beat for Hit 'Em Up was hard, fast, and furious, unlike anything at the time. Johnny chopped elements from Dennis Edwards' Don't Look Any Further and transformed them into a sonic weapon. Paired with Tupac's unrelenting verses, it declared war on Biggie, Bad Boy, and everyone who stood in the way. Johnny J didn't just make beats, he made statements. He worked on Hit 'Em Up during an era when the hip-hop world's tension was boiling, and he stayed by Tupac's side until the very end. In fact, between 1995 and 1996, Johnny J produced most of the All Eyes on Me album and several posthumous tracks. Theirs wasn't just a professional partnership, it was a brotherhood.
Okay, play that for me. Play that for me just one time. Now, put the harmony.
But after Tupac's murder in 1996, everything changed. Johnny kept working, but something in the industry had shifted. Whispers of politics. People are getting left out of the credits. Royalties are being buried. And Johnny J, he wasn't the kind of man to let things slide. He fought for recognition. He fought for what he earned. And some people didn't like that.
Johnny J, a lot of people were kind of upset with him because, you know, he did fight for what he earned and what he deserved and for all his hard work.
In 2008, Johnny J was arrested for DUI and locked up in LA County Jail. Weeks later, on October 3rd, the official report said he jumped from a second-story tier and died suicide. But none of that added up for many, especially those who knew him.
They say he died in jail. It was, came out that he committed suicide, you know, but I think he fell off one of the tiers.
He had a wife, kids, and a thriving career. He was planning music projects. He was still inspired, still full of life. Singer and longtime collaborator Nachi Fletcher said she was stunned.
That's another one that I can't believe. It's just really weird what happened. I haven't really talked to his wife in depth about that because I haven't seen her. I've been out here back east. We just communicate via phone.
She believed there was more to the story, and she wasn't alone.
If you know Johnny J, he's not the type that would take us. I don't know what he was going through at that time. I don't know. I have to talk to her about that. But, you know, that's not something that's urgent.
Some believe Johnny's death was no suicide, but a cover-up, a message, a hit.
Jumped off, fell off. I'm not sure. It was really sketchy. You know what I mean? The story that came out about Jay.
The music industry can be just as ruthless as the streets, especially when money and legacy are involved. Johnny J gave the world some of its most unforgettable music. He helped Tupac build an immortal catalog, and for that, he should be remembered as a legend. Instead, he became another name on a growing list of collaborators who helped create Hit 'Em Up and died under mysterious circumstances. Tupac Shakur wasn't just a rapper. He was a revolutionary with a mic, a poet in combat boots, and the most dangerous voice in hip-hop. When he dropped Hit 'Em Up in 1996, it wasn't just a diss track, but a lyrical nuclear bomb. It drew a line in the sand. It put East Coast versus West Coast on the map, in blood.
You claim to be a player, but I your wife. We bust on bad boys.
And that single music video was a major catalyst to his death.
First off, in the click you claim.
In Hit 'Em Up, Tupac didn't just take shots. He aimed for the jugular. Biggie, Puffy, Bad Boy Records, the entire East Coast elite.
Mob Deep, Biggie, Bad Boy as a staff record label.
And he didn't just diss them. He made it personal. That's why I fed your bee, you fat motherfucker, was the first line. First line. He wanted war, and he got it.
That beef started after a shooting right here in New York City. I've uncovered footage from that time many people haven't seen in decades.
But what most people don't know is that Hit 'Em Up was retaliation.
That beef started after a shooting right here in New York City. I've uncovered footage from that time many people haven't seen in decades.
In 1994, Tupac was shot 5 times at Quad Studios in New York. He was heading into the studio where he would be a guest on a new track before being shot in the lobby.
Night he was shot in the lobby of Quad Studios on November 30th, 1994, a hotspot for rap artists at the time. That's Sean Diddy Combs outside as police arrived. The rare, raw footage of Tupac Shakur in a wheelchair the morning after he was shot in Manhattan.
He survived, but he never forgot.
He was shot numerous times, at least twice in the head.
Even when he was incarcerated for a sexual assault.
Despite 5 bullet wounds, the iconic rapper is on his way to court to hear the verdict in his assault case.
Tupac Shakur was convicted in 1994 of first-degree abuse after a 1993 incident involving a 19-year-old Ayanna Jackson in his hotel room. While he was acquitted of more serious charges like the jury found him guilty of forcibly touching her without consent. He always denied assaulting her and felt he was being scapegoated. In 1995, he was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years, but served about 9 months before Suge Knight bailed him out, leading to his infamous Death Row Records deal.
Hell have no fury like a woman scorned.
We found this impromptu press conference.
Why am I the only one in court right now? Why is the cameras all on me?
In his eyes, that hit was set up by people close to Biggie and Diddy. When Biggie dropped "Who Shot Ya" after the shooting, that was the last straw.
Trust nobody. Trust nobody. After dog. You know what I mean? Straight up. My closest friends did me in. My closest friends, my homies, people who I done took care of their whole family.
Pac believed Diddy and Biggie knew about the attack. Hit 'Em Up was his declaration of vengeance. And when you declare war in hip-hop, especially with millions at stake, some people don't rap back. They shoot back.
He's walking around the corner and he hears some familiar voices from several stories above, and the people yelling at him were Lil C's and Chico Del Vec, both members of Biggie's affiliate rap group Junior Mafia.
In September 1996, the worst happened. Tupac Shakur was shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting on the night of September 7th, 1996 in Las Vegas, after leaving a Mike Tyson boxing match. He was riding in a BMW driven by Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight when a white Cadillac pulled up beside them and opened fire. Tupac was hit 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, and once in the thigh, and died 6 days later, on September 13th, from internal bleeding.
I'm driving, telling him I'm gonna get to the hospital, kick back. Pac looked at me and said, "You know what? You need the doctor more than me. You the one shot in your head." And we laughed the whole time going to find out went to the hospital.
Tupac's death shook everyone, especially his outlaw's goons.
When Tupac passed away and we dealt with that blow.
Let's talk money. because behind every street beef, there's a businessman pulling strings. According to former Southside Crip member Keith D, Sean Diddy Combs allegedly offered $1 million to take out Tupac and Suge Knight. Yep, you heard that right, $1 million. That offer allegedly came through a shady channel. Eric Von Zip, a legendary figure in New York's criminal underworld and Diddy's so-called uncle.
Apparently, there was supposed to be $1 million that Zip was supposed to bring back, but he ended up keeping the money and buying a nightclub with it.
That's what the FBI said.
Keith D says Von Zip gave him the gun. And after Tupac was murdered, that check never arrived. Zip ghosted him. Why? Either the job wasn't official or someone else took the cash.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire. Hire.
Keith also claims he got a call from Diddy and Faith Evans shortly after the allegedly asking, was it us? That's not exactly a question you ask if you're innocent. That's a question you ask when you're checking how much blood is on your hands. Keith D says he had the gun. Von Zip allegedly handed it to him from a hidden compartment in a car. Foxy Brown sitting in the passenger seat at the time. Now Foxy, she's kept quiet, but prosecutors are eyeing her as a key witness in Keith D's ongoing trial. And here's where it gets weirder. Gene Deal, a former bodyguard for Diddy, said he saw the $1 million check. He said it came from Jimmy Henchman through Blackground Records, disguised as a management fee.
Zip had a check in his right back pocket, and that check was for $1 million. He said he got Jimmy Henchman got him the check from Barry Hankerson.
This wasn't some random street hit. This was a planned, financed execution. Hit 'em Up wasn't just a diss, it was a death sentence. Of course, Diddy denied all of this.
Because you listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Diddy didn't let it slide. He dropped Stop Yappin', a barely veiled threat wrapped in a Bad Boy mixtape. The song wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a warning. Puff was telling Pac, you're playing with fire. But Tupac didn't care. He thrived in fire. This was a man who lived like he had nothing to lose, because he'd already lost so much. That's why the Hit 'Em Up video felt dangerous. Everyone in that video, from the Outlaws to Gaddafi to Fatal Hussein, was pledging loyalty to a man who was already being hunted. Standing next to Tupac in 1996, that was like standing next to a burning building. Eventually, they all got consumed. Now, here's the twist. Tupac was trying to end the beef. Yep, after all that fire, after dropping Hit 'Em Up, he started making peace. He squashed the beef with Nas after a tense moment at the 1996 MTV VMAs. He told his team to pull the diss track Watch Ya Mouth off his upcoming album. He was pulling back the heat. He wanted to start over.
So he went over and they talked about it and they hugged it out, man. And I never forget when Tupac came back, he said, "E, man, I just want to say thank you, man. You're right, man. Nas is a cool dude."
He even planned to leave Death Row Records. Suge Knight was toxic and Pac was done. He had dreams of starting Machiavelli Records. He was working on an album called One Nation, a unifying project with artists from the East and West Coasts. Tupac wasn't just trying to escape death, he was trying to evolve beyond it. But it was too late. So why is everyone in the Hit 'Em Up video dead? Simple. Because Tupac made enemies that didn't play fair. Because he stood at the center of a storm, challenging billion-dollar empires, armed with nothing but truth and a terrifying pen. Because when you aim to destroy the system from within, especially a system run by men who move in silence, there's a price. And he paid it in full. But make no mistake, this wasn't just about the men standing beside him. This was always about Tupac. The light he carried was so blinding that it couldn't be allowed to live. And now, all that remains is the music, the message, the myth. But the mystery, that's still unraveling. If you're intrigued by the truth behind Tupac's death and the shadowy figures in the background, subscribe for more deep dive investigations into the most chilling stories in hip-hop history. Because this wasn't just this was a message, and we're not done decoding it. Out of the chaos of Hit 'Em Up, a track that turned hip-hop into a battlefield, a few men managed to walk away, not just alive, but changed. While others met tragic ends, 3 members of the Outlaws lived to carry the weight of what they witnessed. Edi Amin, real name Malcolm Greenidge, was more than a rapper in the 5th verse of Hit 'Em Up. He was part of Tupac's inner circle, one of the most loyal voices in the Outlaws, and a trusted soldier in Tupac's lyrical war against Bad Boy Records. When Hit 'Em Up dropped, EDI's verse was the closing shot in a record designed to destroy reputations. He matched Tupac's intensity, pushing the track's aggression to the brink. After Tupac's death, EDI didn't disappear. He remained active in the music industry, keeping the spirit of the Outlaws alive through solo projects, interviews, and collaborations. While others moved on or stepped back, EDI chose to stay in the game. Over the years, he has become a voice of reflection, openly discussing the highs and lows of being close to Tupac, the inner workings of death row, and the lasting impact of that era. He's taken on the role of storyteller not to sensationalize the past, but to give context and clarity to one of the most chaotic chapters in hip-hop history.
Well, you talk about Hit 'Em Up. I remember one day you pointed out to me that you were the last surviving person on that song.
Depressing.
Next is Napoleon, born Muta Wassin Shabazz Beale. At just 18, he was one of the youngest members of the Outlaws. While he didn't rap on Hit 'Em Up, he stood in solidarity as one of Tupac's loyal foot soldiers in the video. Recruited for his potential and grit, Napoleon was quickly pulled into the high-stakes world of West Coast hip-hop warfare. But as the years went on and the violence escalated, Napoleon's perspective began to shift. After losing Tupac, then Yaki Kadafi, and witnessing the endless cycle of retaliation, he decided to walk away. In 2001, he left the group, turned his back on the music industry, and converted to Islam. That decision marked a radical transformation. He became a student of peace and began using his platform to promote spirituality, personal development, and community work. Today, he lives in Saudi Arabia, far removed from the West Coast rap scene he once helped define. Despite the distance, he hasn't forgotten his past. He regularly speaks about the life he lived, the choices he made, and the lessons he learned from Tupac's rise and fall. Napoleon's journey from rap battlegrounds to religious conviction is a rare story of redemption in an industry not known for second chances.
After I became Muslim, after I accepted the religion of Islam, and I was through with it actually before that. I just didn't know how to get out of it, you know what I mean? I was through with it pretty much before that.
Then there's Castro, born Qatari Terrence Cox. As Tupac's cousin, his role in the Outlaws was personal and professional. While he didn't deliver a verse on Hit 'Em Up, he appeared in the video and stood by Tupac throughout the heated East Coast-West Coast conflict. Unlike some of the louder voices in the crew, Castro was known for his quiet loyalty. He didn't chase fame or controversy, but stayed focused on the music. After the group began to fade and other members left or went solo, Castro kept creating. He rebranded himself as Castroid Beats and continued to release music independently. While he never became a mainstream figure, he earned respect for his consistency and commitment to the craft. He never let go of the lessons Tupac taught him about authenticity, survival, and the power of storytelling through rap.
Every level of my family is affected by him right now, to this day. You know what I mean? He still support the whole family. You know what I mean?
Unlike others who spiraled into violence, addiction, or obscurity, Castro found a balance. He stayed grounded, kept producing, and avoided the traps that consumed many of his peers. His legacy isn't built on controversy or chart success, but on his quiet resilience and ability to stay true to himself. These three men, Idi Amin, Napoleon, and Castro, are the last ones standing from a video that made hip-hop history. Each of them took a different path. One stayed in the industry, one walked away completely, and one reinvented himself behind the scenes. But they all lived through the fire. The Hit 'Em Up video was more than a diss. It was a declaration of war. Most people who stood in that frame paid for it with their lives. But EDI, Napoleon, and Castro carried on. Not without loss, not without scars, but with the strength to survive and the clarity to look back. Their survival isn't just luck. It's the result of choices, hard ones, to change, to grow, to speak out, to lay low. Whatever their paths, they each represent a different version of what it means to live through hip-hop's most dangerous era and make it out the other side.